Welcome to this episode of This Week in Hockey East. We have a really important game this week. We're going to get to a lot here in the first segment and talk about it throughout the show. A milestone in the history of Boston sports as the final game at Matthews Arena is set for this Saturday between Boston University and Northeastern. The men take the ice for one final time at the historic rink. Eric, I know we've talked about it over the last few weeks, but it kind of doesn't feel real that it's actually here. And that's kind of what this whole week has been about, just kind of acclimating, coming to terms, bringing people back together, getting everyone that final go around and talking about a lot of memories at this rink.
Yeah, it was cool seeing it was like 50 former coaches and important people in the Boston hockey community who were at Matthews a couple days ago taking a final skate together. It really is amazing. And again, as you said, we've talked about this, but the thing that really stands out about the building is that there's so many different cross sections of things that are so important in the city of Boston that originate at Matthews Arena, right? Going back to 1910, it's the oldest indoor hockey building still in use in the world. I always like what Bernie Corbett, the voice of the Terriers, says. It's the ancestral home of the Terriers. It's the ancestral home of all these different things, right? The Bruins started there. The Celtics started there. The Carolina Hurricanes started there as the New England Whalers, and then eventually the Hartford Whalers. Each of the local college hockey programs in Boston all played their early games there. The first Beanpot tournament was there, as we talked about. You could go back to all these famous political rallies, right, with Teddy Roosevelt and the Bull Moose Party and William Howard Taft and all that stuff. But the thing that I think stands out more than anything is just the number of, guys that you talk to who said, yeah, I played high school hockey there, or I played youth hockey games there. And, those formative years of playing hockey in this in this city, even the graduation ceremonies that were there. So there's all this stuff that goes back through this building. And obviously there's a lot of, pretty significant memories there that it's worth, talking about. We understand it's going to be replaced. It's going to be a great building that's there, but there are all these significant notes that are going to, run through that building. And obviously it's worth, kind of bringing up and discussing.
Yeah, we talked to Vinny Borghese about it last week on the show. I've talked to coaches throughout this week just about their favorite moments. And it's been a week of memories, reminiscing, bringing a lot of people back together to the rink, like I mentioned. And the Northeastern women celebrated their win in their final game at Matthews Arena in front of over 100 alumni, including Alina Mueller and Aaron Frankel from the Boston Fleet, Kendall Coyne-Schofield from the Minnesota Frost. And you see that's the coaches that all got together this week, and they're able to just share that last time on the ice, and the men will have a similar situation in the building this Saturday.
Yeah, so it'll be really, emotional. It'll be exciting. But the thing is, the game's really important. And it's worth discussing here a little bit when Northeastern, who got off to this wonderful start to the season, they're holding their spot right now in the top 15 at the NPI. But if you can't necessarily do things in a vacuum, as we talk about all the time. But if they were to lose this game, they're out of the NCAA tournament picture, despite all of their good work in the first half. So trying to put a capper on the first half of the season against a BU team that this is one of their last opportunities in terms of key road games. You have Harvard starting the second half to try to jump up and build a little bit of momentum going into the second half of the season. So just like kind of crucial in terms of the game itself as well. Bridgette, you saw Northeastern last week. They ended up splitting with UMass, including dropping that Sunday game.
Yeah, they won their first two games of the season series. It's going to be a 4-game series this year. They meet quite a bit between UMass and Northeastern, but they lost that Sunday game 2-0 at Matthews Arena. I was surprised they didn't score in the third period of that game. They outshot UMass 21-4 in the third, and they just seemed like they were coming and testing Jackson Irving, who was in net instead of Robble for that night. But he obviously had a great game, kept them scoreless in what was a good final push for them. So they head in probably hungry for a little bit of redemption at their home rink, but also wanting to win the final game there, obviously in the same fashion that the women did this past weekend. And you look at the play of Dylan Ritzkovian. He's a guy I think will be key in this game. He's somebody who had a lot of chances in that last game against UMass. He leads Northeastern with 9 goals, 9 assists in 15 games this season. He leads Hockey East in points per game. And he's driving a line with 2 freshmen on it. He's got 7 points in his last 4 games, so things are really coming, and you're seeing him be a leader, and you're seeing him just take steps even more so than he already has as a junior. It just feels like they're more of a balanced lineup this year as well, the way they're able to spread out their talent. And Lawton Zacher coming back from injury recently is big for them as well. He remains the top goalie in terms of save percentage in the country. So he's going to be back in net for that final game, and he's been really good this season.
Yeah, quickly on the BU side of things, they split at home with Vermont last week. Oddly enough, they've actually struggled with their scoring a little bit here recently. Outside of the 4-3 win in overtime against Northeastern back November 22nd, they've scored just 2 goals in 5 of their last 6 games. So I think their defense has actually settled down a little bit, but now it's about finding some of that offense again here, Bridgette. And I know that's something that Jay Pandolfo's talked about the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's talked about the offense needs to get going, but Mikhail Yegorov, he thinks, is playing a little bit better in his net. He says he's noticing he has some of that presence that he had last season when they went on that tournament run to the championship game. And they've been dealing with injuries, right? Some of the scoring has come from that. They've been shorthanded in their forwards. They've been rolling 9 to 10 forwards pretty much every game over the last 2 weeks. So they're looking to get a little healthier. Not sure if they're going to get Ben Merrill back or Conrad Fondrick back, or even Owen McLaughlin. So we'll see if they get a little healthier, what that can do to their lineup.
Yeah, it should be a really interesting game. Coming up, we're going to transition to another huge game this weekend. The UNH Wildcats coming off their sweep of Maine. We're going to talk with UNH head coach Mike Souza ahead of a big game against the #1 team in the NPI. That is next here on This Week in Hockey East.